ladies and gentlemen. Alone but strong. There are moments in life when you're standing at the edge of everything you thought you knew, looking into the abyss of the unknown. It's not that you're alone by choice, it's that you've been forced into it. People leave, opportunities slip through your fingers, and the world keeps turning indifferent to your struggle. And yet, in that silence, in that moment of isolation, something shifts. You realize that being alone doesn't have to mean being weak. In fact, it can be the very thing that forces you to rise. When you stand alone, there's no one to turn to but yourself, no one to blame but yourself, no one to lean on but yourself. It's just you, and the reflection staring back at you from the mirror. But here's the thing: you've always had the strength within you. It was buried beneath layers of doubt, expectations, and the voices of the world telling you who you should be. But when you're alone, those voices fade, and in that silence, you find your true power. It's easy to feel like you're less when you're by yourself, like you're not enough without someone else to validate you. Society tells us that we need to be seen, heard, praised, loved, and don't get me wrong, those things matter. But there's a strength in knowing you can stand tall without the need for anyone else to prop you up. There's a quiet power in your own company, a clarity that comes when you're stripped of distractions, obligations, and the constant noise of the world telling you who you should be. Alone, you are forced to face your fears head on. It's uncomfortable, yes, but it's in that discomfort where true growth happens. Alone, you are the architect of your own life. You learn to trust yourself, to listen to your own voice, even when it feels like it's the only one that's speaking. Alone, you become your own hero, your own advocate, and your own source of strength. I won't lie, the road can be hard. You'll feel every bruise, every scrape, every moment of doubt. But when you look back, you'll see that each step you took on your own was a victory. You'll see that you are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not weak for standing alone. In fact, you are stronger than anyone could have ever imagined because you've learned to carry your own weight, to write your own story, to stand up after each fall, no matter how many times it takes. So yes, it may feel like you're alone, but I promise you, you are not. You are a force. You are fierce. You are stronger than the world ever gave you credit for. And when you finally realize that, you'll understand alone is where the real strength begins. There are times in life when everything you thought you knew seems to unravel. A sudden shift in circumstances, a decision that leads to unexpected consequences, or a moment when the people you relied on fade away. In those moments, you find yourself standing at the edge of the unknown with no clear path ahead and no one to guide you. The world feels quieter, heavier, and it's easy to interpret this silence as a sign of failure or reflection of your inadequacy. But it's in these very moments of solitude, when the noise of life fades away, that you are given a unique opportunity. The unknown is often painted as something to fear, something dark and unpredictable, but in reality, it's not something to shy away from. It's a canvas. And you, standing at its edge, have the chance to create your own path. Feeling lost is natural when the future feels uncertain, but it's also where you'll discover parts of yourself that you never knew existed. It's in the discomfort of not knowing where to go next that you're forced to dig deeper, to confront your fears, your doubts, and your assumptions about who you are and what you're capable of. You see, uncertainty is not a punishment, it's a teacher. It pushes you to make decisions when you have no clear answers. It challenges you to trust yourself even when others aren't there to offer reassurance. And that trust, that willingness to step into the unknown, is where growth begins. The truth is, it's only when we are unsure, vulnerable, or even frightened that we have the opportunity to discover what we're truly made of. It's in the moments of solitude that you're forced to become your own guide, and in that process, you become stronger, more resilient, and more self-aware. Rather than seeing moments of solitude as setbacks, we must learn to view them as challenges that shape our character. They are not signs of weakness, they are invitations to step outside of our comfort zones, to become more than we thought possible, and to realize that we have the power to face whatever comes next, even if we don't know exactly what it is. Being alone often carries a stigma, a notion that solitude is something to be avoided, a sign of weakness or failure. The world is quick to suggest that loneliness equals fragility, that we are only strong when we have others to lean on, to support us. But the truth is, when you're left alone, without anyone around to hold you up or define your worth, you are forced to rely on a deeper source of strength. This is where you begin to tap into the kind of power that doesn't come from external validation or the comfort of others, but from within. In isolation, you're stripped of the distractions, the noise, the constant pull of other people's expectations. And in that emptiness, you're confronted with the raw, unvarnished truth. It's just you. In the face of this solitude, you're given a choice to crumble under the weight of being alone, or to rise and realize that you've always had the ability to carry yourself, even when it feels like there's no one else around. The truth is, the strength that emerges in these moments was always there. It wasn't hidden or lost, it was simply dormant, waiting for the right moment to emerge. When the external world falls away, you are left with nothing but your own resilience, your own resolve, and your own determination. You begin to realize that you have the ability to face challenges, to solve problems, and to keep moving forward, even when you don't know exactly how. You may not have all the answers, but the power to seek them out, to find a way, lies within you. This inner strength doesn't come from perfection or from being flawless. It's found in the ability to stand up after falling down, to keep going even when the odds seem stacked against you. It's in the moments when you feel like giving up, yet something deep within you refuses to let you quit. That is the power that lives inside you, quietly waiting for the moment when you need it most. Being alone doesn't diminish you, it reveals you. It reveals the deep well of strength that has always been there, just waiting for you to realize that you are enough to face the hardest parts of life, enough to overcome what seems impossible, and enough to walk through every storm with your head held high. From the moment we're born, society begins shaping how we see ourselves and our value in the world. We are taught to seek approval, to measure our worth through the eyes of others, whether it's through academic achievements, professional success, or social acceptance. We're conditioned to believe that our value is directly tied to how we are perceived, how many people approve of us, or how much we're needed by others. But this idea that our worth is dependent on external validation is a dangerous illusion. The truth is that external approval is fleeting. It can be earned and lost in an instant based on circumstances beyond our control. We can spend our entire lives chasing the approval of others only to realize that it doesn't bring us the fulfillment we thought it would. There's always another level of success to reach, another person to impress, another moment to prove ourselves. And no matter how much we achieve, if we rely on the validation of others to define our self-worth, we will always feel incomplete. True strength lies in breaking free from this illusion. It's in realizing that your value isn't a currency to be traded in the market of others' opinions. Your worth isn't defined by how many followers you have or how many people applaud your choices. Your worth comes from a deeper, more permanent source. It comes from within. The only approval that truly matters is your own. When you understand this, when you accept that your value is intrinsic and not dependent on the fleeting opinions of others, you free yourself from the shackles of comparison and expectation. Believing in your own value doesn't mean being arrogant or dismissing the feedback of others. It means knowing that your worth isn't contingent upon it. You are valuable simply because you exist, simply because you bring something to the world that no one else can. When you stop looking to others to tell you who you are, you start to realize that you've always known. You begin to trust yourself, to believe in your own decisions, and to walk forward with confidence, even when the world might not be on the same page as you. The power of self-belief is unshakable because it comes from a place of knowing who you are, knowing what you bring, and knowing that you don't need anyone's permission to be great. The illusion of dependence fades when you realize that the greatest validation you'll ever receive is from yourself, and once you have that, you will never be dependent on anyone else's approval again. When you're alone, there's no one to distract you, no one to soften the edges of your vulnerabilities. It's just you with your thoughts, your emotions, and the raw truth of what you're facing. And often that truth includes fear, the fear of failure, of judgment, of the unknown, and sometimes of just being yourself. Solitude has a way of bringing these fears to the surface in a way that's unavoidable. And for many of us, the instinct is to run from them, to bury them beneath distractions or the company of others. But running doesn't make them disappear. It only delays the inevitable confrontation. Being alone forces you to face your fears head on. There's no one else to point the finger at, no one else to blame. It's just you staring into the face of what you're afraid of. It might be the fear that you're not enough, that you'll fail, that you'll disappoint yourself or others. It might be the fear that if you stop and really look at who you are, you won't like what you see. These fears can feel suffocating. They can feel like walls closing in on you. But they are not the enemy. They are, in fact, the doorway to growth. When you're forced to face discomfort, you can no longer avoid the parts of yourself you've been hiding from. And that is where the real transformation begins. It's uncomfortable, yes, but discomfort is often the very thing that propels us forward. Without it, we remain stagnant. It's in the face of fear that we discover our courage. And it's in the midst of discomfort that we realize our true strength. The more you face what scares you, the less power those fears have over you. They lose their ability to control you because you've learned that you can survive them. It's easy to want to shy away from what's uncomfortable, to seek out comfort and safety. But it's only when we step into the discomfort, when we choose to confront our fears, that we begin to expand. Personal growth doesn't happen when things are easy or when we are surrounded by comfort. It happens when we are forced to sit with our fears, to question the stories we've been telling ourselves, and to discover that we are capable of handling far more than we thought. Solitude doesn't just bring discomfort, it brings clarity. The discomfort you face isn't a sign that something is wrong. It's a signal that something is shifting. It's a challenge that, when met, will lead you to a deeper understanding of who you are and what you are truly capable of. You'll learn that fear is not something to avoid, but something to embrace, because it's through facing our fears that we grow into the people we are meant to become. When you find yourself alone, whether by choice or circumstance, the world suddenly becomes less cluttered. There are no distractions, no one else to defer to, and no voices telling you what to do. It's just you and your decisions, your path, your journey. This solitude, though daunting at first, holds an incredible power, the power to become the architect of your own life. In these moments, you are forced to create, shape, and direct your own story. You no longer have the luxury of leaning on others to make decisions for you or of looking outside yourself for validation or guidance. In these moments of solitude, you begin to learn how to trust your instincts. Your inner voice, which may have been drowned out by the opinions and expectations of others, starts to grow louder. You become attuned to your own needs, desires, and values. You stop second-guessing yourself and instead start listening to the subtle guidance that comes from within. You realize that you don't need anyone else to tell you who you are or what you should want. Your instincts are more than just reactions, they are reflections of your authentic self, the part of you that knows exactly what you need, even when logic or external circumstances might suggest otherwise. Being alone also means making decisions for yourself. Every choice, big or small, becomes yours to make. There's no one to blame if things don't go as planned, but there's also no one to stop you from moving forward. You begin to recognize that you have the capacity to decide your own fate, even in the absence of external support. This responsibility can feel heavy at first, but it is also liberating. It means that you are in control. Your life is no longer dictated by other people's expectations or assumptions. You are the one who sets the course. As you make these decisions, you also begin to take responsibility for your actions. There's a shift that happens when you no longer have the luxury of shifting blame or avoiding the consequences of your choices. When you're on your own, every decision you make, every action you take becomes a reflection of your ability to stand up and own the outcome. It's an empowering realization that your life is yours to shape, and no one else's opinions or mistakes can take that power away from you. You learn that mistakes aren't something to fear, but opportunities for growth. Responsibility is not a burden, but an opportunity to affirm that you are in charge of your own narrative. This self-reliance, while intimidating at first, becomes a source of pride and confidence. It's in solitude that you discover how much you are capable of when you stop relying on others to tell you what to do. You realize that you are strong enough to handle whatever comes your way, and that the foundation of your life, your purpose, your decisions, your direction is built from the inside out. In the silence of being alone, you learn that you have everything you need within yourself to create the life you want. Life doesn't often give us an easy path, and sometimes it feels like the more we try to move forward, the more obstacles we face. The struggles come in waves, some small and manageable, others overwhelming, leaving us feeling lost and defeated. But it is in these struggles, when we are standing alone and facing the hardest moments, that we find our true resilience. The path might be tough, and it may seem like we're not making any progress, but every challenge, every setback, and every fall we face becomes a lesson in strength. There is a misconception that strength is only built in moments of triumph, in the moments when everything goes according to plan. The truth, however, is that true strength is forged in the fire of hardship, in the moments when everything seems to be falling apart. When you are alone and struggling, you have two choices: to let the weight of your circumstances crush you, or to rise and move forward. And often it is in the act of rising again, of pushing through the pain, the fear, the uncertainty, that your resilience is born. Each fall, each failure teaches you something vital. It teaches you that you are capable of getting back up no matter how hard the fall. It shows you that even when life seems to knock you down, you have the power to stand back up again. With every setback, you grow stronger, more determined, more certain of your ability to handle whatever comes your way. The more you face, the more you realize that these struggles are not the end of the road, but the building blocks of your strength. Resilience is not about avoiding difficulty, it's about learning to move through it. It's about developing the ability to withstand pressure, to continue when it feels like everything is working against you. It's the courage to face adversity and to keep pushing forward, even when the outcome is uncertain. It's understanding that the struggle is a necessary part of growth, and that without it, you wouldn't become the person you're meant to be. The path may not be easy and the road may be long, but each challenge faced alone, each trial, each moment of doubt strengthens your resolve. You learn that no matter how tough it gets, you are capable of handling it, of pushing through, of finding the strength to continue even when the world feels like it's crumbling. The more you endure, the more you realize that you are far stronger than you ever believed. And in that strength, you build the resilience to keep going, to keep moving forward no matter how hard the journey becomes. At some point, you begin to see the truth being alone isn't a sign of weakness, but rather a symbol of strength. For so long, society has conditioned us to believe that we need others, the validation, the companionship, the affirmation to feel complete. But when you stand on your own, you realize that the power you've been searching for was never outside of you. It was within you, waiting for you to uncover it, to accept it, and to let it guide you forward. The moment you understand this, the world around you changes. Standing alone doesn't mean you're isolated or abandoned. It means you found a deep well of strength that no one can take from you. It's in the moments when you have no one to lean on that you realize just how much you can carry on your own. There's a profound sense of clarity that comes from being alone, a realization that you are the one in charge of your life. You are the one who decides what your story will be, what your journey will look like, and what your future holds. You begin to see that you don't need anyone's permission to be great, to pursue your dreams, or to step into the fullest version of yourself. This is where your true power lies, in the quiet confidence that comes from knowing you can stand on your own 2 feet, even when the world around you is chaotic or uncertain. It's the strength that comes from the deep belief that no matter what happens, you have the resilience, the resourcefulness, and the drive to navigate whatever comes your way. You no longer need external validation because you have an unwavering trust in your own abilities. You realize that you don't need anyone to tell you you're capable. You know it in your bones. Once you truly understand that your power doesn't come from other people, but from within, you become unstoppable. You stop doubting yourself. You stop looking for validation. You stop seeking approval. The noise of the world falls away, and you can hear the one voice that matters, your own. And in that voice is the strength to move mountains, to challenge the status quo, to pursue your goals without hesitation. Embracing your true power means accepting that you are enough, just as you are. You are not incomplete without someone else by your side. You are not defined by the opinions of others. You are whole. You are strong. And once you embrace this power, this understanding that everything you need to succeed is already inside of you, you unlock a force that is unstoppable. You no longer wait for permission, for encouragement, or for the approval of anyone else. You stand tall, knowing that your worth, your potential, and your power are not up for debate. They are inherent, unshakable, and uniquely yours.